So good afternoon, champions. So hope that you had a great weekend. So I'd like just to officially welcome you to our today's analysis. It's a new week, and we are hoping that this week is going to be profitable. So today I would like to share the analysis on Euro USD and the NAS 100. Then we are going to finish up with the USDJPY. So those are the main pairs and also the one index that I'll be discussing today. So this is like an overview of what we are going to expect the markets to behave throughout the week, and hopefully we will be able to capitalize on the movement that are going to be able to make some cash at the end of the day. So I'd like to start with the Euro USD. So we are going to start the Euro USD from the weekly time frame so that you can have an overview of what the market have been doing. So generally you can see that for the Euro USD, generally from the monthly time frame, we have been having kind of a downward trend. But then out of that downward trend, you can see that after the market touched these particular areas here, the market started shooting toward the upside. And currently, we have seen that we have identified this area as a very strong point of resistance. This area here, we have identified it as a very strong point of resistance. The market tried so much to create a breakout to the upside, but then they were totally unable. At the same time, we have also been able to mark also this area as a very strong point of support. So you can see that the markets have been moving in between. So this is a whole point of consolidation. Earlier on, I explained what is a point of consolidation. So, a point of consolidation, it is where the markets are neither moving in a bullish way nor in a bearish way, but rather the market is moving towards the sides, and that is what we are clearly seeing what the market are actually doing right now. So, for the Euro USD, we have had some consolidation for the past few weeks. You can see here that this from the weekly time frame we are still on a consolidation. So at the current market position, you can clearly see that in this area the markets are trying their best to move toward the upside, at the same time respecting these trend lines that are here. So markets always respect trend lines, but at the same time they also respect regions and a point of resistance and point of support in which they usually make. So currently, what I'm expecting the markets to move, I'm expecting the markets to create an upward trend. So out of this, we are expecting that the markets are going to move toward the upside to come to this particular point of support, and I mean point of resistance. So when it comes to this point of resistance, it will also touch this particular trend line that is here at the same time. So, but the first target that I'm having is for the market to create an upward trend or a move toward the upside. So, bearing in mind that it has already made a touch to this particular point of support here, so we are expecting that the markets are going to move toward the upside. Now, coming into a lower time frame, uh, now moving into a lower time frame, that is the same kind of pattern that you have been having. So this being a very strong point of resistance, you can see here after touching that particular trend line, the market started moving toward the downside, but then the market have been moving toward the downside with a particular pattern. Now, when it comes to the daily time frame, you can see that we have identified this area also as a very strong point of resistance. This is also a very strong point of resistance in which when the market try, you can see here at the first point here, you can see that the market touched this particular point and moved toward the downside, came to this particular point of support, moved to the upside again, came to this region again, this particular point of resistance, and it moved to the downside again, created a breakout to the downside, creating a new point of support here, move to the upside, move again to the downside, further to the downside, creating another point of support. Now, after it came to this point here, you can see that the market had at the same time, after creating this point of support here, the market also touch this particular trend line that is here. So you can see that this is a trend line that was you can see that this is a trend line that the markets are touched at that particular point. Now and then after touching this trend line here, you can see the market shot to the upside. and touch this particular point of resistance in this area, that is this particular area above here. And when it touch this particular point of resistance, and since it is a very strong point of resistance, so the market moved toward the downside. So what I'm seeing when it comes to the daily time frame, it is we are having a typical head and shoulders pattern, in which you can see that here it is where our head is, and we have got double shoulders. So you can see our first shoulder is here, and also the second shoulder is here. So what do we expect out of the head and shoulders pattern? So what I'm expecting is that the markets are going to move from this particular point of shoulder here, and also move toward the upside to come to these areas and make a touch in this point of resistance. So that is what I'm expecting that the markets are going to do. And if that does not happen, then we are going to have a scenario in which the markets are going to create kind of double touches, that is to this particular point of support. That is, if the market move from this particular point here to a lower region to this particular point of support, the market then are going to move toward the downside, so in which they are going to create double touches to the downside to this particular point of support. This is will also be a retrace to this particular point of support. That's why you can see so give me some few minutes to correct. Yeah, so that's why you can see that while placing in my stop loss, you can see that I've placed my stop loss below this point of support, because the markets may tend to move from this particular position here. They come to this position. So let me explain the alternative. So the market may move from this particular position and they come to this lower position. Then after coming to that lower position, the markets may tend now to move from this particular position to that particular position. Now I hope you are able to understand. Uh, So either of the two can happen, but still we are preparing ourselves for buy when it comes to the Euro USD. That is from the daily time frame. Now moving in, let me start from the 4 hour time frame before lowering myself to the daily time frame. Now you can clearly see that from the 1 hour time frame. Now from the 1 hour time frame. This is what still we are expecting. So we are expecting that the markets are going to move from this particular position, since it is a very strong point of support. They are going to rise high above to this particular point here, this particular point of resistance. They may create a breakout, that is to it will be like a correction to get into this particular point of resistance again. And well, moving toward the upside, let me explain some. So when the market move from this particular point here to maybe create a breakout to these particular areas here, we are expecting that the markets are also going to create some resistance to this. It may move to some pullbacks just to touch this particular point of support before the markets move from this to new highs. So that is also something that we are expecting that the markets are going to do. So, but hopefully that is going to happen according to how we have analyzed the market. I've also explained that the markets may not respect what we have analyzed. So the markets may rather tend to move toward the downside, but that will not have any effect on our side. Bearing in mind that when the markets are going to come to this particular point of support, they will surely move towards the upside. Now let us move to the 1 hour time frame. Now looking at the markets in the 1 hour time frame. Now from the 1 hour time frame, it is just giving an overview of how the markets are going to behave from an hourly perspective. Hopefully I'm currently on this trade. So in this trade, I will be risking. So let me show you the amount of pips that I'm planning to risk. So in this trade, I'm just risking a total of 200 pips for a total reward of 911 pips. So you can see my stop loss is a little bit near where the current market position I've placed in. But still, if the market decide to move toward the downside, I'm also planning to get into the market again with a buy to these particular areas here, because it will just be retracing that particular point of support. So that is it for the Euro USD. So I'd like also to analyze the NAS100. So for the whole of, at least the whole of last week, we experienced a lot of downward movement from the NAS100. But for this week, I'm just hoping that the markets are going to have some small retest, and also to create a move toward the upside. So let me start from the daily time frame. So generally, as the normal behavior of NAS 100, it will always move toward the upside, creating new highs. So you can see the pattern. This is an upward trend pattern. A move toward the upside. You can see it clearly. But then this upward trend, you can see that there are particular patterns that are trying to be portrayed in this index, that whenever the market move towards the upside and come to a particular point of resistance, we usually experience some downward movement to a particular point of support before the market move towards the upside again. And when the market move toward the upside again, they usually move higher, creating a new high that is higher than the previous high that we have had, creating a new point of resistance again before creating some pullbacks toward the downside again, and also creating a new point of support. So based on that, you can see that the analysis that I've just made. So from the previous weeks, you can see that this market touched this particular point of support, and they started moving toward the upside, creating a new high here. So we can see that we have got this common high that is still currently. Now, from this particular point of resistance, the market created a pullback to the downside. That is, so what I'm expecting is that the markets are going to move as they have already done. So you can see that the markets have moved to this particular point of support that is here. So what I'm expecting is an upward movement from this particular point of support to create a new high, that is a new high that is going to be higher than the previous high that is in these particular areas that are here. So let us move to a lower time frame. Now looking at the market now from the lower time frame, now you are able to clearly see what I've been explaining. So you can see that we usually have got a downward movement to a particular point of support. This, you can see that in the previous markets, the markets came to a particular point of support, and then they created a breakout and moved to the upside, created a new high that is at this particular point, came back for a retest toward the downside, created a point of support, then created another breakout to the upside, created a new point of resistance here. So currently what we are seeing, it is just the market moving toward the downside to kind of have some support. And you can see that they have, in this particular area, the markets have already identified a particular point of support. So I'm expecting that this is going to be a very strong point of support, in which now from these areas we are going to have a move toward the upside, in which the move toward the upside is going to come to this particular point of resistance, and also we are going to experience a move toward the upside to create a new high than the previous high that we have had before. So if I were to get into this trade, I'm not currently in this particular trade, so but if I were to get into this particular trade, I'll just be risking a total of 100 pips for a total reward. So I'll just be placing my take profit where the this particular point of resistance is, but at the back of my mind, it is a clear show that the markets are going to create a new high that is going to be higher than the previous high. So this is like a kind of a sure market in which I'll be getting a total reward of 515 pips. Okay, that is it. That the market plan that I have for the week, that is for the NAS100. Now moving into our last pair, that is USDJPY. Now for USDJPY, let me start from the daily time frame. So you can see that the markets created a breakout to the upside in this area. So you can see this is the first time that the market created a clear breakout to the upside. and then they started creating particular patterns as they are moving toward the upside. You can see that this is an upward trend in which whenever the market touch a particular point of trend line that is above, the market always move toward the downside. You can see the pattern repeated itself at these particular areas. After touching this particular trend line, it moved toward the downside. And also you can see that the trend line below here, whenever the market touched this particular trend line, the market always moved toward the upside. And that is what has happened currently. You can see that we have had double touches to this particular trend line that is here. And what I'm currently expecting is that the markets are going to move towards the upside. Now moving into the 1 hour time frame, so that you can have a clear view in which places that one can trade and also can be profitable. You can see that whenever the market attack this particular trend line that is below, the market always move toward the upside. And you can see that we have had our first touch in these areas, then we had our second touch in these areas, we have had a third touch in this area, and currently you can see that we have got a fourth touch that is in these areas. So you can see that in the current market position, which is these areas, I'm expecting that the markets are going to move from where they are, and they are going to rise high above to come to this particular point of resistance. And in this trade, I will just be, so if I was to get into this trade, I'll just be risking a total of 150 pips for a total reward of 674 pips. Now moving into the 1 hour time frame, so that you can have a clear view of the market. So this can be a sort of an upward trend without just ignoring the other trend line that I've just placed. So this is a clear upward trend in its own. So you can see that this is a clear upward trend in its own. So in which I'm expecting that when the markets are in which the market have already tagged the trend line below. So I'm expecting that the markets are going to move from this particular position, and they are going to move higher than, they are going to create a new high than the previous high that we have had before. But if that does not happen, so what I'm also expecting is that the markets are going to move from, if they will be able to break this point of support, I'm expecting that the markets are going to come to these areas here. And when they tag this area based on their previous patterns in which they have already created, I'm expecting that the markets are going now to move from this current market position and create a new high, still to our take profit at that particular position. So that is it for the USDJPY, and that is what I'll be looking at for the whole of this week based on the analysis that I've already given you. So my prayer is that you'll be able to capitalize on the markets for the whole of this week, and that is all that I had for today. And it is always my prayer that may the pips always be with you. Thank you.